Thanks for joining us today. Whether you're dreaming of a sunrise ceremony in Waimanalo or an elopement at sunset in Kawela Bay, you probably have questions about navigating the public nature of Hawaii's beaches. This is the podcast where we turn tropical complexity into island simplicity. I'm Brittany, and alongside Reverend James Chun, we've spent decades turning elopement stress into beautiful, stress-free covenants. In this episode, we're diving into the absolute biggest blunders, from choosing the wrong shoe style to misinterpreting beach permits, and giving you the solutions to avoid them. All right, let's get engaged.
Rooting back, turn it out into facts. Stay a while, press and play. You're smart, great every day.
Welcome back to the Hawaii Wedding Studio podcast. We are diving into another deep dive today, and I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm Riley. And, oh man, do we have a fun one today?
We really do, because, when you picture a Hawaii beach wedding, it's basically this pure, unfiltered romantic fantasy, right?
Totally.
Just flawless.
Yeah, like you're standing there exchanging vows, your toes are sinking into these pristine turquoise waves, the sun is setting over the Pacific, just perfect.
Right, the breeze is gentle, everyone looks completely flawless. It's an absolute movie scene.
Exactly. But then, you peek behind the curtain, you look at what actually goes into making that movie scene happen, and you realize that pulling off this fantasy involves like a massive collision between high-stakes emotional expectations and the absolute unbridled chaos of tropical thermodynamics.
That is an incredibly accurate and hilarious way to describe it. I mean, we like to think of a pristine beach as a serene, passive backdrop for our memories, you know?
Like a green screen. Exactly. But in reality, it is a highly active, dynamic environment. The ocean does not care about your timeline. Nope. And the wind has zero respect for your Pinterest board.
So true. So our mission today is unpacking the ultimate survival guide for an Oahu beach wedding.
A survival guide, yes.
Because we're diving into a massive stack of material today. Everything from practical field guides on island event planning to geographic breakdowns of Oahu's coastlines, all the way to hundreds of firsthand accounts from couples who navigated this exact crucible with an Oahu-based officiant, Reverend James Chun.
The goal here is really to help you, the listener, avoid the invisible pitfalls of island event planning. Because if you truly understand the environment and the mechanics of how it operates, you really can pull off that magical stress-free day.
Yeah, you just can't walk into it blind.
Right. You cannot just blindly walk into it. Before you can even think about saying I do, you have to contend with the physical environment of the island.
And let me tell you, Hawaii does not play by mainland rules.
It really doesn't.
I was looking through the typical timelines people try to set up, and I noticed this glaring anomaly. Like, on the mainland, booking a 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. ceremony is the gold standard.
Oh, yeah, totally standard.
You have the ceremony, you roll right into the cocktail hour, it makes perfect sense. But on Oahu, everyone treats a 2 p.m. wedding like an absolute disaster. Why is that?
So it's what we call the midday trap. And it all comes down to the physics of light and latitude.
Okay, getting scientific.
Just a little bit. So Hawaii is much closer to the equator than the mainland U.S.
Yeah.
Which means at 2 p.m., that midday sun isn't just bright, it is incredibly intense.
Wow.
Yeah, and the light is coming almost straight down from overhead.
Which completely changes how photography works, right?
Yeah, exactly. When light comes straight down, your brow bone casts a heavy shadow over your eye sockets.
Oh, not a good look.
No, photographers literally call it the dreaded raccoon eyes effect.
Raccoon eyes? That's hilarious. Well, maybe not for the bride.
Definitely not. And, you could hire the best photographer in the world, but they cannot fight the angle of the sun. Plus, let's talk about the heat index.
Right, because you're in formal wear.
Exactly. You are standing on reflective white sand, in formal wear, under direct tropical sun. You and your guests are going to be squinting and sweating.
Sweating in a tuxedo on the beach just sounds miserable.
Nobody wants to be dripping sweat while exchanging rings.
So the environment is basically actively fighting your comfort.
It is. The solution is timing. Professional photographers and local coordinators constantly push for the golden hour.
Which is what? Right before sunset?
Yeah, the last 90 minutes before sunset. At that point, the angle of the sun drops. The light has to travel through more of the atmosphere, which naturally diffuses it.
It makes sense.
It becomes soft, directional, and highly flattering. That's how you get those dreamy, glowing photos.
Okay, but what if someone absolutely refuses to change their 2 p.m. slot?
If you absolutely must do an afternoon ceremony, you have to find a micro location with natural canopy shade, like a grove of palm trees.
Okay, so let's say you've timed the sun perfectly. Next boss fight. The wind.
Oh, the wind.
Oahu's trade winds are famous. They keep the island cool, which is great, but reading through these accounts, they sound like an absolute nightmare for wedding aesthetics.
Because a trade wind isn't just a gentle passing breeze. It is a persistent directional force of nature.
It's just constant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's lovely when you're in a swimsuit, but when you introduce a cathedral-length flowing veil or like a loose, intricate hairstyle, it becomes a major liability.
I read this one account where a gust suddenly turned the bride's veil into a kite mid-ceremony.
Yes, a literal kite, just pulling your head backward.
Which sounds hilarious for an observer, honestly.
Sure, but terrifying for the bride.
Definitely. So what do people do?
The consensus from the people who do this every day is to save the dramatic veil strictly for the portrait session afterward. For the actual vows, just take it off.
Good advice.
And for hair, structured updos or braids are much safer than leaving it down, unless you want it constantly whipping across your face and sticking to your lip gloss.
Sticky lip gloss hair is the worst. But here's the part about the wind that I found genuinely fascinating.
What's that?
It doesn't just mess with the visuals, it completely destroys the audio.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is a mechanical issue so many people overlook.
Because you are standing next to a crashing ocean with a steady 15-mile-per-hour trade wind blowing across you.
Right. And wind creates an immense amount of white noise that physically scatters sound waves.
So if you are just speaking at your normal, emotional, maybe slightly nervous conversational volume, your vows are quite literally being carried out to sea.
Exactly. Your partner might hear you if they're close enough, but the guests in the third row, they will hear absolutely nothing.
Just watching your mouths move.
Pretty much. That's why a quality wind-resistant sound system with lapel microphones for the couple and the officiant isn't a luxury. It is an absolute mechanical necessity if you want anyone to witness what you're actually saying.
Okay, so we've got the sun trying to blind us and the wind trying to silence us. What about the ground we are standing on?
Well, the beaches are alive.
The beaches are alive. That sounds like a horror movie.
Well, they shift with the lunar cycle. If you don't check the tide charts for your specific date and time, you can get into serious trouble.
I saw countless accounts of rising tides forcing these frantic last-minute relocations.
Oh yeah, moving a heavy wedding arch and 50 guest chairs because the water is suddenly lapping at the front row. It's chaos.
And even if you stay dry, there is the footwear issue.
The sinking shoes.
Yes. Dress shoes, stilettos, they just sink straight into the sand. You end up doing this awkward, wobbly shuffle down the aisle.
Which completely punctures the elegance of the moment.
Exactly. It's hard to look majestic when you're doing the sand wobble.
The really clever logistical fix I saw in these guides is providing a shoe valet station.
A shoe valet. I love that.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully designated spot at the edge of the beach where guests are actively encouraged to swap their fancy dress shoes for flip-flops or just go barefoot before hitting the sand.
That's brilliant.
It's a tiny detail, but it profoundly changes the comfort level of the guests because it gives them permission to adapt to the environment.
You know, hearing all this, it almost feels less like event planning and more like outfitting a wilderness expedition. Just one where everyone is wearing a tuxedo and being highly photographed. It seems like the couples who fail are the ones stubbornly attached to copying and pasting a traditional country club wedding format onto a wild, dynamic coastline.
That's exactly it. You cannot force the island to submit to your itinerary. The couples who succeed are the ones who let the environment dictate the logistics.
Which brings us to a massive illusion of control, because you can manage the sand with a shoe valet, right? And you can manage the sun with the timeline, but you cannot control what falls out of the sky.
Oh, absolutely not. Let's talk about the weather.
And the crowds.
Yes. Hawaii is a tropical paradise, which inherently means the weather is volatile.
Volatile is a good word for it.
Because of how the mountains catch the clouds, it's a process called orographic lift. The island has incredibly localized microclimates.
Orographic lift. Look at us getting scientific again.
Hey, we're doing a deep dive. But basically, a perfectly sunny, cloudless morning in Waikiki can turn into a sudden torrential downpour on the North Shore by the afternoon.
And pinning all your hopes on perfect weather without a plan B just leads to heartbreak. But I want to challenge this a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because I hear over and over that you must have a backup plan. But doesn't having a strict minute-by-minute backup strategy completely kill the spontaneous, laid-back aloha vibe of an island elopement.
I can see why you'd think that.
Like, if I'm stressed about moving inside, I'm not enjoying the beach.
It's a totally fair point.
Yeah.
But when you look at the psychology of the couples in these accounts, the exact opposite is true.
Really?
Yeah. Having that backup plan is what preserves the aloha spirit. Cognitive load. True spontaneity and relaxation are only possible when your brain feels safe.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you have no backup plan, your brain is subconsciously tracking that dark cloud on the horizon instead of focusing on the vows you're making. You are on edge.
You're just waiting for the rain to hit.
Right. But if you have already secured a gorgeous covered terrace with an ocean view, and you know exactly how the pivot will happen, your brain lets go. You buy yourself the freedom to actually be present.
Wow. Okay, that makes total sense. You build the fortress so you can relax inside it.
Beautifully put.
And that backup space needs to be beautiful, right? Because if you have to pivot, it needs to feel like a seamless choice.
Not a disastrous last-minute compromise to a windowless hotel conference room.
Ugh, the worst. Now, even on a perfectly sunny day, there is another highly unpredictable element.
The general public.
Ah, yes, the tourists.
Because most beaches in Honolulu, especially around Waikiki, are public property.
Which means your deeply intimate emotional vow exchange might suddenly feature a background audience of sunbathers.
And boogie boarders.
And curious tourists in neon swim trunks pointing at you.
Exactly. Not quite the aesthetic most people are going for.
So how do you escape them without leaving the island? The geography here is really interesting, actually.
It is. There are specific alternative locations that naturally filter out the crowds, just based on their topography.
Like Waialae Beach.
Yes, Waialae Beach is a great example. It's super close to Waikiki, but it's historically much quieter.
Why is that?
Because of the reef. The reef at Waialae creates a very shallow shelf in the water. You can't really swim laps or surf there.
Oh, I see.
So it naturally acts as a bouncer, filtering out the large crowds looking for deep water.
Wait, so the reef actually acts as a natural bouncer for the wedding?
Pretty much.
That is brilliant. What you're left with is a perfectly quiet, mirror-like backdrop with palm trees and a small offshore island.
Exactly. Then there's Kawela Bay up on the North Shore.
How is that one different?
Kawela Bay is an entirely different sensory experience. It's tucked away, featuring lush forests and massive, sprawling banyan trees.
Sounds gorgeous.
It's very quiet. You smell the salt mixed with the trees, and it's right near some local stables, so it's not uncommon to have a horse or two wandering by in the distance.
Very fairy tale. And for ultimate privacy, there's Papailoa Beach.
Which is highly secluded because it's physically tucked behind a row of luxury beachfront homes.
Fun fact about that one, that beach is famous for being the main filming location for the TV show Lost.
Oh, wow. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, very cool vibe. And then if you want something that feels incredibly cinematic, there's Makapuu on the eastern coast.
Makapuu is all about dramatic scale.
Yeah.
You have the towering Kula mountain range right behind you.
So cool.
Dark volcanic cliffside views, tide pools, and picturesque islands like Rabbit Island out in the water. It makes you feel very small in the best possible way.
Okay, so let's say you found your perfect secluded beach. You've outsmarted the tourists, avoided the 2 p.m. sun. You just walk up, plant your floral arch, and get married, right?
Absolutely not.
No.
This is where we hit the invisible red tape.
The permit police.
Seriously, the permit police. Hawaii strictly regulates commercial activity on its beaches to protect the natural environment.
And a wedding counts as commercial activity?
Yes, because it involves hired photographers and officiants, it is considered a commercial activity. You cannot just set up chairs.
Wow.
Oahu has very strict vendor restrictions, access regulations, and hefty fines for unauthorized events.
So you have to ensure that whoever you are working with, like your planner or your officiant, provides packages that already include the necessary liability insurance and state beach permits.
Right, because if you try to rogue it, you might literally get shut down mid-ceremony.
Talk about a mood killer. And navigating all of that feeds directly into the budget, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's what the industry calls the Hawaii premium. When you run the numbers, an Oahu wedding costs, on average, about 20% more than a similarly sized wedding on the mainland.
20%. And the mechanism behind that is purely logistical, right?
Yes. You are on an island in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah.
Every single chair, every cut flower that isn't native, every piece of sound equipment has to be shipped over an ocean.
Makes sense when you put it like that.
Plus, the baseline cost of living and operating a business there is significantly higher.
So couples really have to build a realistic budget. The most effective strategy seems to be keeping the guest list intentionally tight.
And relying on inclusive packages.
Right, because if you bundle the permits, the photography, the styling, and the efficient into one streamlined package, it creates a financial buffer.
It saves you from paying individual premium markups on 10 different vendors.
But there is another kind of budget to consider here, and that's the emotional and cultural budget.
This is such an important point.
Hawaii has a profoundly rich, sacred culture, and a lot of couples coming from the mainland feel a strange pressure to incorporate it.
They do. They mistakenly feel they need to include elaborate hula dancers, fire knife shows, or conch shell blowers to make it an authentic Hawaiian wedding.
But when you look at the accounts of the most successful, grounded weddings, they all lean on this core philosophy. Identity over vanity.
Yes, identity over vanity.
You do not need to turn your intimate wedding into a luau spectacle if that isn't who you are.
Exactly. This gets into the psychology of why we plan weddings. Are you doing it for the photo op, or are you doing it for the meaning?
Right.
The most authentic weddings feel true to the couple. Adopting a cultural practice just because it looks cool on Instagram without understanding its history leans dangerously close to appropriation rather than appreciation.
I was going to ask about that. Is it actually more respectful to the local culture to just skip the grand fire shows if they hold absolutely no personal meaning to you?
Emphatically, yes. Authenticity is the highest form of respect. If you want to honor the place you are in, choose elements that genuinely resonate.
What would be a good example of that?
That might just be incorporating a simple, quiet Hawaiian blessing or participating in a traditional lei exchange.
Oh, I love the lei exchange.
It's beautiful because if you take the time to understand that the lei represents a continuous circle of love and deep respect, that small, quiet moment is infinitely more powerful than a fire show you booked just to entertain your cousins.
Well said. Okay, let's step back and look at the whole board here. We've got the 2 p.m. sun trying to cast shadows on us.
The wind scrambling our audio.
The rain threatening our clothes.
The tourists photobombing the background.
The 20% budget premium.
The state permit regulations.
And the pressure of cultural expectations. I mean, the cognitive load on a couple is staggering.
It really is.
With all of these rapidly moving parts, how on earth does a couple actually stay grounded enough to, experience the feeling of getting married?
This is where we get to the absolute core of the material we reviewed. You simply cannot do this alone.
Right.
And in the hundreds of first-hand accounts we analyzed, one local guide's name just kept coming up as the ultimate anchor in all of this.
Yeah, Reverend James Chun and his team. Reading through his reviews was wild. People aren't just saying, oh, he said really nice words. They are raving about him as a master of crisis management.
Because a great officiant in this environment isn't just a public speaker. They are the buffer between the couple and the chaos.
Yeah, review after review talks about his ability to effortlessly absorb the stress of last-minute changes.
In one account, a couple's original beach location was completely blown out by an unexpected storm front.
Oh, no!
They were panicking, but he just calmly relocated them to a completely different, perfectly sheltered spot.
And because his packages automatically handle the blanket beach permits, the couple didn't have to spend a single second stressing about the legality of the move.
That peace of mind is priceless.
But it's also the micro adjustments that caught my eye. The subtle things he does to offload the couple's mental burden during the ceremony.
Right, because you're nervous.
Exactly. Think about it. You are nervous, you're wearing strange clothes, you're standing in front of your families, people forget what to do with their hands or which way to turn.
Oh, totally. I wouldn't know where to look.
He provides these discreet and visible little cues throughout the ceremony so the couple never feels lost.
Yes. And my absolute favorite technical detail.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
He perfectly steps completely out of the frame for the first kiss.
It is such a small thing, but so crucial. So you don't end up with this floating head of the officiant hovering awkwardly between you in your most romantic framed photograph.
Nobody wants the floating officiant head.
Yeah.
He also acts as crowd control for the guests. He orchestrates what they call an unplugged ceremony.
Which is vital.
It really is. He politely but firmly tells the guests to put their phones and iPads away during the vows.
Uncle Bob with his giant iPad.
Exactly. He curates the environment so that everyone is actually present.
Yeah.
And then he gives them a designated posed moment later to take all the photos they want. It stops Uncle Bob from ruining the professional photographer's shot.
And he genuinely seems to go above and beyond the baseline job description. There was one incredible instance in the accounts where a couple was having a completely private elopement, just the two of them on a beach.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, and they hadn't planned or budgeted for a videographer.
So Reverend Chun actually brought his own 360-degree camera, set it up, and filmed their private ceremony for them, just so they would have a moving memory of it.
That is next-level anticipatory care.
Truly above and beyond.
The analogy that kept coming to my mind is that the officiant in this setting is basically the air traffic controller of the wedding.
Oh, that's good.
You need someone in the tower, managing the runway traffic, monitoring the wind speed, and clearing the airspace. So all you have to do is sit back and enjoy the flight.
Has the perfect way to look at it. The phrase that echoes throughout these accounts is that he creates a spiritual covering of peace.
A spiritual covering. I like that.
His presence ensures that the ceremony feels entirely unhurried. It's deeply personal and completely insulated from the logistical machinery operating just outside the frame.
All right, well, let's bring this all in for a landing. To quickly recap the survival guide we've unpacked today.
Let's do it.
If you want the dream Oahu beach wedding, you have to respect the thermodynamics of the island.
Dodge the 2 p.m. sun.
Mic up against the trade winds and check the tides. You absolutely must secure an emotionally equivalent plan B to buy yourself peace of mind.
Do not skip the backup plan.
And you have to navigate the strict permit red tape by leaning on an experienced local anchor like Reverend Chun. And most importantly, focus on the meaning rather than the spectacle. Identity over vanity.
You know, reviewing all of this leaves us with something really fascinating to consider.
Yeah.
We spent all this time talking about how to mitigate the harshness of the island environment.
Right.
But what if that harshness is actually the point?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, think about a traditional mainland wedding in a pristine, climate-controlled ballroom. Every variable is micromanaged.
Yeah, you control everything.
Right. It's very easy to hide behind the perfection, the heavy makeup, the perfect lighting. But the island strips all of that away.
It really does.
It forces you to ditch the high heels for bare feet in the sand. It messes up your perfectly styled hair with the wind. It forces you to abandon your rigid timeline when a rain cloud rolls in.
It basically takes away your armor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If removing that highly controlled, superficial perfection forces a couple to be physically and logistically vulnerable,
Oh, I see where you're going.
maybe that is the ultimate psychological training for a marriage. Because if you can stand there with messy hair, a shifted timeline, and sand on your clothes, and still look completely at your partner and say, I do, with total joy, you are infinitely more prepared for the unpredictability of the next 50 years together than you ever would be in a perfect ballroom.
Wow. From the unbridled chaos of tropical thermodynamics to the ultimate preparation for a 50-year marriage, that is a brilliant way to reframe it.
It's definitely something to chew on.
Truly. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. If you're planning your own island getaway or just love hearing about the wild logistics behind these beautiful events, be sure to like and subscribe to the Hawaii Wedding Studio podcast for more great info about weddings in Hawaii. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.
If you're feeling a little more prepared and a lot less stressed after listening to this, our job is done. Don't forget, you can view the complete optimized list of these tips, along with links to other related blogs at hawaiiweddingminister.com. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, stay salty, stay hitched, and we'll see you on the sands of Oahu.